What is that? What's going on with that? What is this? What's going on with this? Take a picture, because they might not be here the next time. Happy Saturday. So you know, this is my favorite time of the year for me and my plants. This is propagation season. This is when cherry blossoms come on the tree and warm starts to break through the cold. I absolutely love this time of the year. I love propagating my plants. So every year for the last couple of years, I have really gone hard. As you know, or may not, this year my goal was to lush up my Hoya. So I thought it would be a fun idea for me to come on and talk about the 5 plants that I love to propagate the most. Well, actually, I'm gonna tell you about the 5 genuses. And then what I'll do, no, you know what? I'm gonna spoil it. I'm gonna tell you what the 5 are, because after I tell you what the 5 are, I wanna go through, I'm gonna talk about the easiest ones to propagate, the hardest ones to propagate, and the pros and the cons for that genus. So in no particular order, the 5 are Pothos, ZZ plant, Hoya, African violets, and Scindapsus. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so for my knitty friends, this is what I consider to be a scrap sweater. It's a sweater that I just took some random pieces of yarn that I had left, scrapped it together to make some sort of a house sweater. And what I wanted to do with this sweater was to just use up all my yarn. Love it. It's around the house. I love it. Okay, so let's get into the first plant, because I have a update. This is my ZZ plant. This is my Raven ZZ. And I've had this plant for about 2 years, nope, 3, 4. I got her in 21. And when I got her, she already had some new shoots coming out. She had about 2 or 3 new shoots coming out. And I had a little accident and I damaged like 2 or 3 of her shoots. Well, in learning how to take care of her, she sort of just was like, I'm not gonna grow, but she wasn't dying. So I propagated her last year, and look, she's got a new baby coming. See how bright green that is? This is what the babies look like when they come out, and then they eventually turn into this dark lusciousness right here. So I love this plant. I would love to get a bigger, more full pot, so which is why I propagated her. I also have an update on my propagations. So I have about 4 cups of propagations, and so they don't look fantastic because all you see is the dead leaves, but the magic is going on up underneath. And I did a video some time ago showing you what the new growth looks like what's under the dirt before I put it in here, because I propagated these in water. But this one is actually growing. Look. Oh, can you see that little bit of green in there? It's really hard to see, but she is growing. Now, I cut this some time ago. It was back in June, I want to say June or July, maybe even later. So I cut these sort of late in the season because it was a last minute effort. And I was like, I knew this was going to take a long time. So this is why ZZ plants are number 5 on the list, because they are kind of slow. So I'm going to start with the cons since I've already said it. They are kind of slow, but if you've got patience, the reason I like them, and I think the con is really, the other side of the con is the pro, is that if you kind of forget and you don't water it all the time, it's a little more forgiving than some of the other propagation types. And that's because in general, ZZ plants don't need a lot of water. However, the propagations like to stay moist, especially if you propagate them in water. So with the water propagation, you just make sure that the water is fresh. But other than that, you don't have much to do. Now, once they grow roots and you put them in the soil, just keep the soil slightly moist until I saw some new growth. These sort of like sacks right here, these things right here, they should probably be planted in the soil, but this is how I got it. I've never repotted this plant. Oh, Jesus. I never repotted this plant. So you can kind of see from that, the fact that I never repotted, what these potato-like things look like. And that's what's up under the soil. They should literally be under the soil. It shouldn't be sitting on top. The pros of propagating ZZ. It's my favorite thing about propagating is that you could literally propagate the leaves. You see, I have a leaf in the soil, right? You pluck off this leaf off of the plant and you put it in water and it will grow the tuber at the bottom, and that tuber will have some roots on it, and you put that tuber in the soil and it'll push out. This whole thing is called a leaf. It'll push out leaves. I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. These don't need a lot of water. So they are the perfect plant and a very easy propagation. So I love that about them. The con is, okay, so the con is that they do grow slow. You have to have a lot of patience with these propagations. And to be fair, the minute you probably want to give up is the minute they're going to start growing. So I would just keep them moist. If you can keep some slightly moist soil in a full-on prop box, or find a way to cover up the top so that it can stay moist inside, and every so often give it some air. It's the best combination to growing these and allow them to just, once you see some growth going, then you can kind of pull back a little bit on the humidity levels. But I love propagating ZZ plants. So straight brag moment. I propagated my green ZZ too, and you see I have a new growth right down there. That's a whole new plantlet growing up. It's so cute. Look at that. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, number 4 is the Scindapsus. This is the Scindapsus. This is my silver hero. I love the Scindapsus, but the way their leaves come in is a little problematic because I like very full plants, and it almost looks like it missed some leaves, but it does that. It'll skip a node and then put a leaf, skip a node, put a leaf. It seems a little annoying when you want a full plant, but it is perfect for propagation because I can leave this leaf on here and use this one to grow roots with, right? So I would cut it here, grow roots there, and allow it to continue to grow here. So that's perfect, right? Oh, and another pro is that this Scindapsus roots grow really thick and pretty. And so they grow really quickly too. But I would say in about 2 weeks, no more than 2 weeks. If you don't see roots in the water by 2 weeks, you might need to change something. The other pro about this is that you can actually propagate. This leaf is turning yellow. I thought this was a new leaf. Okay, stay focused. The other thing about this plant is that you can actually propagate with wet sticks, which means that you don't necessarily need the leaf in order to propagate. So you can take this node, you would need 2. You take these nodes, put them in some sort of medium, I wouldn't do it with water, but I've never tried it. It might work. A plastic container, something that's sort of like airtight so that you can keep the humidity in and allow it to get some light, and it will push out some roots on one of the nodes. And then you just plant that and let that grow from there. The cons is sometimes this can be a little slow. Even though that's a con, that it takes a long time to root sometimes, it's really a pro because it's really staying alive long enough for you to figure it out. So I love that. Now this version I have not cut yet, so I really don't know how quickly it does propagate. I can only assume that because of the other 6 ones that I have, that maybe it propagates the same, but I do have, oh wait, hold on. Okay, so when it comes to my slowest Scindapsus to propagate, I would say it's my silvery Ann. No, this is not silvery Ann. This is, yes, it is. It's Silvery Ann. I would say it's my Silvery Ann. I feel like she's a younger plant because all my other ones have much thicker stems, but that just might be her way, right? She's doing pretty good right now. You can see all the pretty roots in here. She's doing pretty good. I'm not really complaining about her. She is just not as quick of a grower as my other Scindapsus, but she's coming along pretty well. She took a real hard hit when I did my last propagation, and some of her cuttings took a while to root. So of my Scindapsus, I feel like my Silvery Ann was the slowest. My fastest propagating Scindapsus was these. This is the Silver Splash, and is it Silver Splash? Yeah, Silver Splash. And I want to say this bad boy, she propagates fantastic. I mean, I think she saw the scissors coming and she started growing roots before I even cut it. She took to the propagation so quickly. I'm just in love. I got so many babies in here, so many little babies coming out. I'm so excited for this summer. I think she's going to really kind of lush up some more. If I find another opportunity to cut her, I probably will, because I really want her to be bushy. And for me, what I find is that with Scindapsus, you really have to put a lot of stems in that pot for it to be a bushy plant. So that's my goal, is to get all of them super bushy. Like if you look at the difference between this one came in a 4-inch pot just like this one, and it was doing this very same thing. Just had a lot of long, sort of straggly looking tendrils. Even though the leaves are beautiful, it was just a lot of space in between. The internodes were long, which is a lot of space in between the leaves. And you know, of course, it does that skip the node thing. So in order to get it bushy like this, you have to propagate, or at least have to put more plantlets in the dirt. So I don't mind propagating Scindapsus. I probably will try to hit this one again, but I might give it at least one season to kind of grow back before I hit her, before I cut her again. But I don't know if she do like I want her to do, she might. And look, let me tell you, when I cut for the propagations, the mother plant grew even bigger. The mother plant just kept pushing out even more babies. So I cut her at the end of the season. I want to say, when did I get her? It's saying June. June of last year is when I got her. I probably didn't cut her till about maybe August. So for her to have just been cut, what is it, maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, she's doing pretty good, especially since this was over the winter. So Scindapsus is number 4. Look at the baby. She's so cute. This is Exotica, and this was one of the wet sticks that I had that took forever to propagate, but she's got a lot going on. She's got a little bit of growth right here, and it's, you know, this could be Silver Ann, but I feel like it's Exotica. But she's baby. One thing I will say about propagating with wet sticks is that the leaves come in super small, but they're still leaves. They still do what they do. She cute. So before we go any further, we've had a lot of new people come and join our community over the last couple of weeks. So I want to say welcome. And for the rest of the fam, welcome back. My name is Yvette Boone. I'm a recovering software engineer and a lifelong creative hobbyist and plant enthusiast. And here on this channel, we create a safe space for Black women to incorporate creative hobbies into their wellness practice. And for me, plants are a huge part of my wellness practice. And I absolutely love propagating. So that's why we are talking about propagating so much, because propagating to me is one of my joys. And I think it just makes my plants look so much better when I propagate. And it helps me learn a lot more about my plants. So the number 3 on my list is Hoya. Hoya has moved up super fast, because last year was was it this year? This year. Okay, let me try to untie this. I have propagated Hoya before, but it was like a stem broke, and I was like, throw it in water and let me see what it will do. And I've done that, but I've never potted up those propagations, right? This year, I had a plant, and I'm gonna go get her. Ooh, this is my Hoya Matilde, and don't do that. We got company. Don't act up. I had a little issue with her. she was yellowing and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I thought maybe she didn't have a good enough root system to support how long she was. She was super long. So I took these like 5 super long tendrils, cut them up, propagated it. The very first time I had ever propagated Hoya as a rescue mission. And I fell in love with the process. Oh, so much easier than aeroids. Okay, so let me explain why. Hoya does not need a node in order to grow roots. So that stem, this piece right here, this long stem here, I could literally take, and all these little bumps that you see on the root is going to, on the stem, is going to produce a root. Even if it doesn't have bumps on here, it's going to find a way to pull in water to support the plant, and then it will push out roots somewhere. I love that thing. I love that. Okay, so I don't have this specific Hoya on the list. I actually took my picture with this one. So this is the one that I recently just cut up. And I want to say within a couple days, like maybe 5 days, I'll probably put the date at the bottom, I am going to show you some of the roots that grew in a matter of days. It literally took off. I'm absolutely in love with the process. I will show you here. Look at that. That is crazy. I cut this less than 2 weeks ago. You see the date on there, right? Today is the 30th, 29th, one of them days. I can't remember. But the roots are ridiculous. Look at that. Absolutely crazy. When I tell you this plant is so firm, this is the best this plant has felt in a very long time. But I feel really good about propagating these, because I think these are going to these grow so fast. This is the Australis. This is the Australis Lisa, the variegated one. These grow super fast. So I'm excited about getting this, probably, to be fair, maybe even back in this pot, like right here in this section over here. But we'll see, because there's a lot going on in this pot, and I'm not sure if I want to go back in and try to add anything to it. I might end up creating a whole nother pot. Now, if this was all I had of the cuttings from this, but it's not. I have like at least 2 other containers, and they're just as full, if not more, than this one. And they're all rooting as well. Let me go get one more for you. So these are all my Hoya. Look at that. Can you see how pretty those roots are? That is amazing. Even, okay, so this is another reason why the Hoya made the cut. And the only reason it's not number 1 is because I don't know what it's going to do with these leafless ones. I think it's going to produce, oh, it is already. Look at that. It's got root on there. Look at that. No leaf, it's root. See? And that's not a node. That is not a node. The node is right here. There's a node here and there's a node here. Okay, so let's go through the pros and cons that I have so far with propagating Hoyas. The pros are you do not need 2 nodes. You can cut this down to 1 node. The regular aeroid plants, you need a node for the leaf and you need a node for the roots. With Hoyas, you don't need but 1 node, and that's for the plant growth, the leaf growth, right? I love that. The other thing that I am enjoying with Hoya propagations is this is a whole different plant here. This is my Hoya Bella. And as you see, my Hoya Bella doesn't have any roots yet, right? And that might seem like a problem, but when I feel these leaves are nice and firm. You know what that tells me? This plant is getting water. Now, it might not be coming through a root, but it's getting water to its leaves, which is all I need, right? So I don't mind waiting for the roots to take their time to grow if I know that this plant is getting the water that it needs. So I'm okay with that. So even though I don't see roots just yet on either one of these, I'm not worried about them because these leaves are nice and firm and nothing is wilting. Nothing is having issue. This thing is so, I don't want to keep pressing on it because I don't want to break it off because then I really would be in trouble. The other thing I've noticed about these too is that even if the stem is not completely submerged in water, you will push out roots from somewhere up above because it's trying to reach down to the water. And I have examples of that in here. Like you can see roots up in here that aren't even in the water and they're pushing down to get to the water. I love this. I love this about Hoya. Their desire to live and to thrive is catchy. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's contagious. Oh, you know, you can also propagate these in sphagnum moss or perlite. Now, I have another Bella, the Louis Boy, that is the variegated version of this. And when I first got the plant, it was having some issues, I thought. And so I cut it and I did the whole water thing. It wasn't working. I couldn't figure out why. But at the end of the day, I put that in some sphagnum moss and kept the sphagnum moss moist, put it in the prop box. It grew beautifully, had no problems with it. So these will also grow in sphagnum moss if you are a little afraid of water or the water is not working out. Now, I will say, I think that the harder or thicker stemmed Hoyas seem to produce roots really quickly. And I'm finding that these softer or more flimsy stemmed Hoya are a little more stubborn. So I'm gonna watch this Bella to see how it does going forward. Cause I never got my Louis Boy to produce roots in the water. I literally had to put it in some sphagnum moss before it pushed out any roots. But I was a little impatient. I didn't wait long enough. As long as these leaves are holding its water, I'm not gonna stress too much about it. I think they will be fine. I really do. If they do take a little bit too long, I might even throw a little piece of Pothos in here to kind of help spring some roots to come out. But so number 3 on my list is Hoya. Okay. Number 2 is my African violet. Man, I wish there was a way that I could show you all the iridescence that is in this plant. Oh, and the fuzziness of the leaves. Like, I wish I could show you how fuzzy those leaves are. This plant is amazing. I absolutely love these things. They are so pretty. If they smell, that would be the only thing that would make them more better, is if they would smell. But they don't. If they do, I don't smell it. I love this. Okay, so I love propagating African violets, and I think it's the same reason. It's the same reason that I love propagating ZZ, and that's because you can propagate with a leaf. So the mother leaf on this plant started with this leaf right here, way up under there. So all I did was take one of these leaves here, probably from like the 3rd row, pulled it off, had the petiole on it, and took that petiole and stuck it inside this dirt. And from there, as long as I kept this dirt, this soil moist, I have it in a self-watering pot, but as long as I kept the soil moist, it would grow. It took some time. It took a couple of months for the plantlet to actually grow, but now we have a full-on plant, right? I love that about African violets, right? They are super easy to care for. A lot of people have issues only because they don't realize the magic of this self-watering pot. These things like to stay moist. The con is, or the thing about African violets, they don't like their leaves to stay wet. right? So if their leaves keep any kind of water on them, and I could probably show you an example. There's a little blemish right here. It probably had a drop of water on it that stayed on it for a little bit too long, and it just like literally like melts the leaf. It looks kind of gross. It melts it, right? Other than that, these things are fantastic. This one is not even under grow lights. This one is sitting in front in my living room near the window, and she gets regular window light. Matter of fact, both of my African violets, this baby is the only one that's under grow lights. Now, here's the real tea. These things want to grow so much that whenever you break off a leaf and it has a wound on the stem of the African violet is in the middle and all the leaves grow around it. I think it's called radial, like they grow around it. Anytime you pluck one of those leaves off, it will push out another baby. It will grow a plant right there from the stem. So you can see there is a whole nother plant growing right here. All this is a whole new African violet. And if I reached in there and pulled this out and cut it off of the stem, I can take and set it on top of some soil, and it'll push roots down in the soil, and it'll grow. It'll be a whole nother plant growing on its own. Typically, when people grow African violets, they just grow one head at a time, but it's nothing wrong with allowing them to do this, right? As long as you keep up with the watering and keep up with the nutrients, it'll support it, no problem. I love that about African violets. They really, really they grow like project roaches, right? They push out a baby all the time if you let it. So yeah, if you allow it, if it's under the right conditions, it will push out a baby, right? These leaves look like they're drooping, but they're really not. It's really just pushing down because this whole baby is trying to grow. I might have to go in there and pull it off. But yeah, it's literally just a whole plant growing in there. Now, I have never grown these propagated them in water before. I won't say that you can't do it, but it's so easy to do it in the soil. One of the cons about African violets is that their roots are super fragile and they're really tiny, right? So growing them in one medium, pulling them out and putting it somewhere else, one, the leaves are very brittle in the sense where when they're watered well, you can break them off really easy, right? And once you break them off, then the plant starts doing its growing other plants. So it's fragile in that way. So because of that, it's a lot easier to just grow them or propagate them in the soil that you want to grow them in. So when it's time for me to up pot this, which I actually don't ever have to do, but if I want the plant to be big like this, I can up pot it into a bigger pot. I literally would just take all the soil out and just plop the whole new plant in the soil. I wouldn't try to remove the dirt from around it. Repotting an African violet is a little different than repotting an aroid type plant, because in reality, all you want to do is behead the African violet and let it create a whole new root system. Easy, but different, right? But propagating literally is just putting a leaf in the plant, in the soil, allowing it to root and then create a whole baby, and you have a whole new plant. I love that. I can have 100 of these things. And look at the back of the leaves. It's so pretty, right? Look at that. I love it. It's so cute. So don't sleep on African violets now. They are very, and they're so pretty. I just cannot get over how pretty they are. And they come in different colors as well. Yeah, I'm gonna sell you on some African violets. Okay, so before we get to number one, let's talk about a couple of things. One, I want to remind you that I have community posts coming out every day because I want to get to know you guys, right? So every day since about the beginning of March, I want to say it was really close to the beginning of March, I've been asking one planty question a day. You guys are really coming through. I'm telling you, when I look at those posts every day, I get so tickled and excited that you're excited, and I'm getting to know you guys. So I'm collecting that information. At the end, we are going to have Okay, I'm afraid to say live, but I'm gonna figure out a way for it to be interactive for us. And so I'm gonna do a video on the findings and we're gonna talk. But I want you still got time. So if you've missed them, you can always go back and do the other ones. I am not taking them down. I'm gonna leave them up, but you still have more time. We have till about the 17th of April before the last question comes out. So go check out the community post. There will be a link in the description. You can click on that, see all those community posts, and go and click them. Really simple, very easy, fun, just to get to know you guys, okay? And if you are liking this video, make sure you give this video a like. And if you are liking this content, you will absolutely love our community. As you see, we are a fun group of people. And let me tell you, my comment section is like love and cake wrapped together. It is the best ever, okay? So if you are loving this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit that subscribe button, and share this video out. Okay, now let's get to number 1. Let's take a wild guess at what number 1 is. I'm gonna go put my stuff up and I'm gonna come back with number 1. Look at her doing her thing, honey. She is like, do not count me out, okay? Don't even try it. Don't even try it. Don't even with her yellow leaf. Let me tell you, okay? She said, look, I ain't ashamed. Yes, sometimes my leaves turn yellow. Sometimes we have a couple of blemishes, but I'm still cute. Look at that. Hey, 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 hey. All right. Who would have thunk that the Pothos would be my number 1? It me, I thought so. Yes, Pothos. Number 1 favorite plant to propagate. Let me tell you, nothing for me has beat the Pothos, right? And why? Why is that? 1, because they grow so fast. Man, it's like they can hear the scissors coming. They pushing out roots before they even get cut. They grow so quick. I see another yellow leaf in here too. They grow really quickly. They also help other plants to push out their leaves when you're propagating too. So there's a chemical that Pothos release, and that chemical helps other plants to propagate faster. It's like a root hormone, right? What? You know, it's like the minister of plants. That's what it is. It's like a balm in Gilead. Okay. Seriously though, I love the Pothos, and I love specifically this jade Pothos. Well, I love all the Pothos, to be fair. But what I love about this jade is that this jade just keeps giving. I mean, it's a powerhouse. When I tell you, every time I cut this plant, I would come back. Okay, so I propagated her last year. I'm pretty sure you all know the story, so I'm not going to go back over that. But I propagated her last year, and every time I propagated another set of plants, I would cut Pothos just like a piece to put in the propagation jar. Well, when I looked up, I had a gazillion Pothos propagations, and they all were growing fantastic. It wasn't like, oh, they were taking their time. They were growing. They were not only rooting, but they kept growing. I didn't even lose the mother leaf. It was ridiculous. And I went from a 6-inch to this. This is a 15-inch pot. I want to say it's 15-inch. Child, which one is? I don't know. I think it's a 15-inch pot. She is no joke. She is humongous. Look at this. She is humongous. Now, and this, look, even from then, I still actually have hang time. I didn't have none of this when I finished cutting. None of it, because I had cut all of the hang time off. All of this grew since I cut it last year. So I could even go in and cut some of this off because the stem on this is ridiculous. Look how thick that is. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. She is going to get her a little piece of a spa treatment soon. And for her, what that means is I'm going to take her in the bathroom and shower her off really, really well. I'm going to, flush her soil out. I know she doesn't have much buildup because the real kicker with this setup is that because she's in such a big pot, I only need to water her probably once a month. What? Let me say it again. I probably need to water her once a month. And I have her right now in a high light situation. And even with that, because she has enough soil in this pot, because her roots are doing their thing, I only have to water her about once a month. It has probably been about a month since I watered her, and she's not even drooping. She's like at a point where she's getting close to it. So I think I could probably go another 3 or 4 days. But I can go a month without watering this thing. And I don't mean I can force her a month. I mean, it takes about a month for her to get to a point where she's ready to be rewatered. I mean, when I tell you I have her in all the extreme situations, I keep my heat on in this room. I keep the lights on, give it to them. And so she could probably, in theory, like this one right here, hold on, don't do it. I should be actually coming back, calm down. This is my golden. When I tell you they love each other, okay, fam. All right, hold on. Wait a minute. I'm confused. How do we get... Okay. This is my golden. My golden is in an 8-inch pot. She got repotted last year, meaning I just changed her soil. I didn't do too much propagation with her, just a little bit. This bad boy takes water every week. She's nowhere near as big as this one. She's big now, but she's nowhere near as big as this one. She gets watered every week, right? She can't, it's been a week now. I probably will wait till tomorrow to water her, but she's almost there. She's almost at a point where she needs to be watered. But yeah, she needs water just about every week. This is 3 weeks, almost 4. I would say 4 weeks in already. And they're about the same. They're about what's what as far as ready. You see me patting it. This is how I can tell whether or not my pothos needs to be watered, because their leaves will be sort of floppy. I can probably show you an example of one. If I find one, I'll show you an example of one that probably is not sitting too well in the soil, which means that it's not getting enough water. But yeah, this is fantastic. I could talk about these things all day. Okay. So the pros are the roots grow really fast. The roots grow so fast and they adopt to being cut so quickly that their leaf that is left on the cut doesn't skip a beat. It pushes out a root, it starts pulling back in water, and it continues to grow. It doesn't even stall the plant. Sometimes you'll cut and the next leaf will be super small, or it'll take a long time to grow. Not with these. They don't need none of that. You cut and that next leaf might come out a little bit smaller, but then after that, they're like, okay, we back in business. It's cool. Everything is great, right? Like I said, they also help other plants to grow their own roots. Like they're a root hormone. Like they are, the minister of roots. I love that. Wet sticks. You can propagate wet sticks of pothos, meaning that you can have a stem with no leaves on it, and you will be able to grow a root and eventually grow a leaf. Now, sometimes they do what they want to do and they grow the leaf first without the root, but they'll figure it out, and before long you'll have a regular working plant. Now, I will say this much. You can get it to do both in one, but I don't find that to be effective. When you cut a a stem, or when you cut a pothos to propagate, you need at least 2 nodes on that cutting. One for the roots and one for the leaves. Okay, it's not like a Hoya. Okay, can I think of any cons? I thought about this and I couldn't think of any cons. I find that a little crazy that I couldn't think of a con, but I couldn't think of any cons when it comes to propagating pothos. I will say this much, and this is about propagating in general. If you happen to cut your plant and it was not well and you didn't notice, it might not propagate. Every cutting doesn't propagate. I will say my propagation rate, my win rate is pretty good, right? It's fantastic with pothos. But even I've had some pothos that all of them did not propagate. Okay, so let's get into which ones are my favorite. So my favorite pothos to propagate clearly is this jade. My second favorite is not the Hawaiian. It's not the Hawaiian. And it's not because I don't think this one grows really fast. It's because my experience has been that Cebu blue propagates instantly. It is crazy how quick that Cebu blue. So let me go get her, right? Not that she is not on the list. She's on the list. She's probably right after. I would say, yeah, she's right after the Cebu blue. Like I said, I didn't propagate her a lot last year. And when I did propagate her, she was not growing. I brought her in here because she wasn't growing. So when I cut her, I felt like she was already sort of kind of sick a little bit. And so I ended up propagating her, and she did propagate. I have a small little cup of her over there. But I felt like once I got her in here and I got her to start growing, I think if I cut her now, I think I should have no problems. But we'll find out, and I'll let you know, because I do feel like I'm going to propagate her very soon. Hold on, let me go get the Cebu blue. Okay, so my Cebu blue, it's one of those situations where you feel like you kind of need to warn people and kind of apologize. I'm not going to apologize for my Cebu blue, but I will say this much. We are learning a lot. Okay, so I propagated her last year. I had a pot of Cebu blue. It was maybe a 4-inch pot. She had a lot of long tendrils, so I cut them up really small, and I tried to get as many propagations as I could, and I got a lot. However, I also potted it in a super big pot. So that made me a little nervous. One, because every cutting I had was in this pot. So if I lost this pot, I lost the whole plant. But two, because I was afraid that I was going to water it and it was going to stay moist for too long because I had such a big pot, even though she has a lot of roots in this pot. So we've kind of had a little bit of a turbulent relationship since I potted her up. But I think she is doing fantastic. She does not look like a road stopper. She would not probably win the prettiest plant in the room award. But I'm super proud of her. She has a lot of little babies. And what I did was I was testing her in some light. And so now I can see the difference between having a lot of light on her and having less light. I love the color of the blue leaves that are down here in the bottom from me giving her less light. So I think we are off to a really good start. She has a lot of plantlets in here. When you look in this pot, she's got a lot of plantlets in this pot. So I think we are off to a really good start of having a really full, beautiful plant. When I tell you this thing grows and those leaves get super big and fenestrated, this thing is going to be beautiful. So I can't wait. Take a picture of her because she will not look the same at the end of this summer. I can't wait for her to grow. She's got babies back there. But let me tell you, I'm saying all that to say, I'm hyping my baby up. She's she grows her roots really, really fast. I could not believe, she was the very first thing to root last year when I cut. And I want to say 2 or 3 days later, I saw roots and I was like, what in the world? Oh my God. So I just love her vigor. I love how fast she roots. And I wouldn't consider her to have been a really super healthy plant at the time, because this is my first time having this plant. I never knew what raising or taking care of a Cebu Blue was like. I was doing the best I could. So I think we are off to a really good start. I don't have anything to propagate, because when I tell you I cut her to 1 inch of her life, I had so many baby nodes, it was ridiculous. So I don't really see any opportunities to cut. I just see that we are going to have to make sure that she gets the best of care and that she is growing in the best of conditions. And what I'm noticing is that she doesn't need as much light as I want to give her. And with that being said, that means she probably won't need as much water either. So I think she's going to do fine. I know I'm rambling about her, but why not? The 3 top favorite are the Jade Pothos, the Golden, which my Golden is a Hawaiian. So my Hawaiian Golden, and then the Cebu Blue. Okay, y'all know I only need a reason to bring these beauties to the table. Okay, these are some of my favorite Pothos. You know, this right here, she's a stunner. I absolutely love my Neon. Love her from day one. It's chartreuse. Ugh, love it, love it, love it. She's not, of the Pothos, I would say she's harder to propagate. And what I mean by harder, you don't do anything different. It just takes her longer. And when you see this thing shooting off so quick and that Cebu Blue making roots in 2 days, it's really hard. You kind of lose a little confidence in your abilities because this takes a little bit longer. Now, I will admit my Neon and this one here. So my Neon and I'm calling her, I'm gonna say she's a Snow Queen because I think she is a Snow Queen. My Snow Queen, both of these were not in the best condition, which was part of the reason why I was propagating them last year, because I wanted to get them in a better condition. But so it did take a little bit for them to root. I had all options. I had growing in water, I had growing in sphagnum moss, I had growing in plastic bags, I had wet sticks. I propagated everything that was able to push a root out. And my success rate was really, really good, but some of them took a long time. So if I were looking for the easiest ones, I would say Jade, Hawaiian, Cebu Blue. And then for the hardest ones, I would say the Neon and the Snow Queen. And if you notice something, these are farthest away from the full green as you gonna get, right? It doesn't get much farther than this. This is white with green. It doesn't get much farther from that. So I think what it is that these white leaves are a little harder to photosynthesize, and maybe that means that it's going to take a little bit longer for the roots to grow. So you just have to have a little bit more patience. All right, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. I absolutely did. I love propagating, and I absolutely love propagating the plants that I have on my list. And I think I'm just about going to do the same thing this year and propagate more of them this year, okay? Hoya definitely moved up my list. I absolutely love propagating Hoyas because they are easy. So it might be that the Hoya might end up taking the #1 spot. We're going to see. We're going to see. But I think Hoya could be a real contender for #1. Or it could be #2. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Okay, you guys, if no one else has said it to you today, have a great day. Bye. So these words are hard. I feel it. I'm not.